The wind blew with unusual force that dawn, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and a foreboding sense that something terrible was about to happen. I gripped my staff tightly, feeling the ancestral power pulsing through the sacred wood as the cowrie shells danced in my hands like small fragments of the moon. My eyes, which had already witnessed the birth and fall of entire civilizations, now gazed upon the dark future unfolding for the village of Ife. Orunmila, I whispered to myself, what do the paths of destiny hold for this people I love so dearly? The cowries fell onto the straw mat, forming patterns that only I could decipher. The message was as clear as the brilliance of the stars. In 3 days, when the sun reached its zenith, warriors from distant lands would invade our village. Blood would be spilled, lives would be lost, and everything we knew could vanish forever. But I am Orunmila, the Orisha of divination, the guardian of the secrets of time and fate. And if there's one thing I've learned in all my years walking between worlds, it's that the future is not an immovable stone. It can be shaped, transformed, redirected by those with enough wisdom to understand its mysteries. Allow me to tell you how it all began, how I discovered my true nature and the weight of the responsibility I carry on my shoulders. I wasn't always the Orisha I am today. There was a time when I was just an ordinary man, living in the village of Ife, working the land and caring for my family like any other. My human name was Agboniragun, and I was known for my insatiable curiosity and the strange ability to sense events before they happened. Even as a child, my mother noticed that I would wake up crying on the nights before great storms or become restless when danger lurked near our home. "This boy sees beyond the veil," she used to say, stroking my hair as I nestled in her lap. "He has eyes that see what is to come." I remember the day everything changed. I was only 16 when I found that mysterious staff in the sacred forest. It was unlike any wood I had ever seen. It glowed with a soft, golden light, and when I touched it for the first time, I felt an energy surge through my entire body, as if 1,000 bolts of lightning had coursed through my veins. In that moment, visions began to flood my mind. I saw the past, the present, and the future intertwining like the threads of a cosmic tapestry. I understood that I was not an ordinary man. I was a chosen one, destined to serve as a bridge between the world of mortals and the realm of the Orishas. The transformation was both painful and beautiful. I felt my consciousness expand beyond the limits of the human body, embracing mysteries known only to the gods. The staff pulsed in my hands, and I knew I had found my true purpose, to be the guardian of fate, the one who interprets divine signs and guides mortals on their journeys. But with this power came a profound loneliness. How could I explain to my family and friends that I was no longer the same? How could I make them understand that I now saw things their eyes could not see, heard voices their ears could not hear? The first time I used my new powers was to save my own village from a devastating drought. The elders were desperate, the crops had failed, and people were beginning to talk of leaving in search of more fertile lands. That's when I cast the cowries for the first time, feeling the ancestral energy flow through me. "Dig wells in the direction where the sun sets," I instructed the men of the village. "The water is there waiting to be discovered." Many doubted, but a few trusted my vision. And when water gushed from the dry ground, clear and abundant, everyone knew something sacred had touched our land. Over the years, my reputation as a seer spread beyond the borders of Ife. People came from distant villages seeking guidance, carrying their worries and hopes like offerings at my feet. Each consultation was a deep dive into the mysteries of fate, a delicate dance between what was written in the stars and what could be changed by human will. It was during one of these consultations that I met Oshun, the Orisha of rivers and love. She arrived at my hut disguised as a young woman, with eyes that shone like golden honey, and a voice that sounded like the murmur of flowing waters. "Orunmila," she said, and just by the way she spoke my name, I knew she was no ordinary mortal. "I need your wisdom. Something terrible is approaching, something that threatens not just a village but the balance between our worlds." Her eyes filled with golden tears, and I felt my heart tighten. Oshun rarely showed despair, and seeing her in that state filled me with an urgency I had never felt before. "Speak," I urged, preparing my cowries with hands that trembled slightly. "Share your burden with me." She told me of a village on the banks of the Niger, where her people had lost faith in the Orishas. The inhabitants had turned to dark practices, invoking evil spirits in exchange for temporal power. This betrayal had created a rift in the fabric of reality, allowing dark entities to infiltrate our world. "If we don't act quickly," Oshun explained, "these shadows will spread like a plague, corrupting everything they touch. Entire villages will fall under their influence, and the balance we've maintained for millennia will be destroyed. I cast the cowries with steady hands, but my heart was heavy. The patterns that formed on the mat showed me disturbing visions. Warriors with empty eyes marching toward innocent villages, children crying as their homes were consumed by black flames, and at the center of it all a dark figure that seemed to feed on chaos and despair. "I see the evil you speak of," I confessed, my voice hoarser than I would have liked. "But I also see hope. There is a path, a way to restore balance, but it will demand sacrifices that few are willing to make." Oshun leaned forward, her golden eyes fixed on mine. "Tell me what must be done, no matter the cost." The cowries revealed the truth to me. Only by uniting could the Orishas face this threat. But that meant revealing our true nature to the mortals, abandoning the veil of mystery we had always maintained. It meant accepting that our time of distant observation was over. "We must gather our siblings," I said at last. Shango with his power over lightning and justice, Iemanjá with her maternal wisdom and dominion over the waters, Oxalá with his purity and ability to bring peace. Only together can we face what's coming. In that moment, as I made that decision, I felt the weight of destiny on my shoulders. It wasn't just a village in danger. It was the very fabric of reality, the balance between light and darkness that governed our existence. After Oshun's departure, I remained alone in my hut, contemplating the implications of what I had seen. The cowries lay scattered before me, silent now, but still charged with the echo of the visions they had shared with me. Being the guardian of fate is a responsibility few can truly understand. Every line revealed by the cowries carries the weight of lives that can be saved or lost, of futures that can be shaped or destroyed. It's a burden I carry alone, for even among the Orishas, I am the only one who can truly interpret the divine signs. That night, as the crescent moon lit the sky with its silver light, I allowed myself to recall the moments that had brought me here. I remembered my first true vision, when I was still a young mortal and saw my father's death 3 days before it happened. The agony of those 3 days was indescribable, knowing something terrible was coming but being powerless to stop it. Watching my father work in the fields, laugh with my brothers, embrace my mother, all while knowing it would soon end. That's when I understood that knowing the future is not a gift. It's a curse we accept for the sake of a greater good. But that experience also taught me something fundamental. Fate is not unchangeable. I couldn't save my father, but I learned that I could help others navigate the paths laid out by the stars. I can offer guidance, wisdom, the light of understanding amidst the darkness of uncertainty. As I reflected on this, I felt a familiar presence approach. Shango emerged from the shadows, his eyes glowing with the intensity of 1,000 lightning bolts. His double-headed axe was strapped to his back, and even in his human form, he radiated power and authority. "Brother," he said, his voice resonating like distant thunder, "Oshun told me of the threat. I've come to offer my strength to face these shadows." His presence filled me with deep relief. Shango was always the bravest among us, the one who faced danger head-on without hesitation. His presence gave me the strength to carry on. "There's more," I said, showing him the cowries. "The threat doesn't come only from the corrupted village. I see armies marching, warriors guided by a malevolent force that seeks to destroy everything we've built." Shango examined the patterns formed by the cowries, his expression darkening with each moment. "When will they arrive?" "In 3 days," I replied, feeling the familiar weight of premonition in my chest. "But there is hope. If we act with wisdom, we can not only protect our village but also uproot the evil at its source." That's when I realized this wasn't just a crisis, it was an opportunity. A chance to show mortals that the Orishas were not just legends and myths, but real guardians watching over their well-being. It was time to step out of the shadows and embrace our role as protectors of humanity. "Gather the others," I told Shango. "The time has come to reveal our true nature." As he left to fulfill my request, I turned my attention back to the cowries. There was still so much to uncover about the approaching threat, and every detail could be crucial to our victory. Dear listeners, if you feel the same tension I felt in that moment, share in the comments what you think will happen next. Orunmila's journey is just beginning, and the challenges ahead will test not only his power, but also his wisdom and faith in the destiny he helps shape. Keep following this epic story of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. The fate of the village of Ife, and perhaps the entire world, rests in the hands of the guardian of fate. The dawn of the second day brought a different energy, as if the air itself knew something extraordinary was about to happen. My hut, usually a sanctuary of peace and contemplation, now buzzed with the presence of the Orishas who had answered my call. Yemanja arrived with the first light of day, bringing with her the scent of the sea and the maternal serenity that always accompanied her. Her blue hair rippled like ocean waves, and her eyes held the depth of all the world's seas. When she embraced me, I felt a momentary peace, as if all the world's worries could be washed away by her sacred waters. "My son," she whispered, her voice like the murmur of waves on the shore. "I sense the anguish in your heart. Share this burden with me." ORIXÁ came soon after, radiating a pure light that seemed to dispel the shadows around him. Dressed entirely in white, he walked with the dignity of one who carries the wisdom of ages. His eyes were like clear crystals, reflecting an understanding that transcended words. "Orunmila," he said, his voice laden with authority and compassion. "The winds have brought me whispers of a great disturbance. Speak, and we will know how to proceed." When all were gathered, I prepared my cowries again, but this time with a crucial difference. Each Orisha present added their own energy to the ritual, creating a synergy I had never experienced before. I felt the combined power of us all flowing through the staff, amplifying my visions to an almost unbearable level. The images that emerged were clearer and more terrifying than anything I had seen before. I saw the corrupted village Oshun had spoken of, but now I could see the face of the evil controlling it. It was an ancient entity, something banished millennia ago, but now finding a way back through the betrayal and despair of mortals. "His name is Elegbara," I said, a shiver running down my spine. "The deceiver, the one who twists paths and perverts journeys. He feeds on chaos and discord, and his presence in our world is an aberration that must be corrected." Shango clenched his fists, lightning dancing between his fingers. "Then we will fight him. My justice will be his downfall." But I saw more in the cowries, something that filled me with even greater concern. "It's not that simple, brother. Elegbara cannot be simply destroyed by brute force. He is like a spiritual virus, spreading his corruption through fear and hopelessness. To defeat him, we must cut off his source of power." Yemanja leaned forward, her blue eyes fixed on mine. "And what is that source?" "The corrupted village itself," I replied, feeling the weight of the revelation. "As long as there are people there feeding his existence with their dark actions, he will remain strong. We must not only face his armies, but also heal the souls of those who are lost." ORIXÁ nodded slowly. "Then our task is twofold: protect the innocent and redeem the lost. It will not be easy, but it is the right path." That's when I understood the true nature of the challenge we faced. It wasn't just a battle between light and darkness, but a lesson about the power of redemption and hope. Elegbara had chosen his moment well, taking advantage of a time when people's faith was shaken and their souls open to corruption. As the sun reached its zenith, we devised our plan. Each Orisha contributed their unique wisdom and power, creating a strategy that was both military and spiritual. Shango would be responsible for confronting the corrupt army marching toward our village. His justice and power over lightning would be essential to protect the innocent, but equally important, he would carry the responsibility of showing the enemy warriors that there was still hope for redemption. "Remember," I instructed him, "these men are not truly evil. They are victims of Elegbara's influence. If we can break that influence, we can bring them back to the light." Yemanja would take on the role of healer, using her sacred waters to purify those under the dark influence. Her maternal compassion would be crucial to reaching hardened hearts and awakening the memory of who they once were. Oshun would return to the corrupted village, not to confront Elegbara directly, but to plant seeds of love and hope among the inhabitants. Her power over emotions and her ability to awaken beauty, even in the darkest places, would be essential to undermining the deceiver's source of power. ORIXÁ would remain in our village, creating a spiritual shield that would protect not only the bodies but also the souls of the inhabitants. His purity would serve as a beacon, guiding the lost back to the path of light. And me? My task was the most complex of all. I had to use my connection to fate to find the exact moment when Elegbara would be most vulnerable. I needed to identify the weak point in his spiritual armor and coordinate our efforts to strike it with surgical precision. But another aspect of the plan deeply troubled me. To succeed, we would need to reveal our true nature to the mortals of our village. This meant abandoning the veil of mystery we had always maintained, exposing ourselves completely, and accepting the consequences of that revelation. "Do you understand what this means?" I asked my siblings. "Once we show our true power, there's no going back. The mortals will see us as we truly are, with all the responsibilities and expectations that come with it. ORIXÁ was the first to respond. If it's necessary to save innocent lives, so be it. Our existence has no meaning if we don't protect those who cannot protect themselves. The others agreed, each with their own reasons, but all united in the understanding that the time had come to openly embrace our role as guardians of humanity. The night before the attack was the longest of my existence. I walked through the village streets, observing the people sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm approaching. Children dreamed of games, adults rested after a day's work, and elders recalled their lives in nostalgic dreams. All these precious souls now depended on our protection. The weight of that responsibility was overwhelming, but it also gave me the strength to carry on. Every face I saw, every peaceful breath I heard, reminded me why we had chosen this path. During this nighttime walk, I encountered Aduni, a young orphan I had helped years before. She was awake, sitting on the threshold of her home, gazing at the stars with a worried expression. "Baba Orunmila," she said, using the respectful title many in the village gave me. "I feel something strange in the air, like a storm is coming, but I see no clouds in the sky." I sat beside her, feeling the innocence and purity radiating from her like a soft light. "Sometimes, little one, the most dangerous storms are those we cannot see with our eyes, but know that there are those who watch and protect, even when you don't notice." She looked at me with her big, trusting eyes. "You'll protect us, won't you, Baba? You always protect us." Her words touched me deeply. Here was a child who trusted me completely, who believed in my ability to keep her safe. How could I let her down? How could I fail all those who depended on me? "Yes, my daughter," I replied, running my hand through her hair. "I and others you don't yet know will do everything in our power to protect you." When she finally went back inside, I remained on the threshold, gazing at the stars that had given me so many visions over the years. That night, though, they seemed to shine brighter, as if they knew something momentous was about to happen. That's when I felt Elegbara's presence for the first time. It wasn't a physical presence, but a shadow moving at the edges of perception, a subtle corruption trying to infiltrate my mind. He was testing our defenses, searching for weaknesses to exploit. I gripped my staff tightly, feeling the ancestral power flow through it. "You'll find no passage here, deceiver," I murmured into the shadows. "This village is under our protection." I heard a distant laugh, like the echo of a sinister chuckle. "Orunmila, guardian of fate." The voice seemed to whisper directly into my mind. "Do you truly believe you can change what's already written? Chaos is the only true constant of the universe." "Fate is not a prison," I replied, though I knew I was speaking to the shadows. "It's a blank canvas where choices paint the future, and we choose the light." The presence retreated, but not before leaving a final message. "We'll see tomorrow how strong your light is when faced with true darkness." The third day dawned with a blood-red sky, as if the heavens themselves anticipated the coming conflict. We gathered at the village center, where an altar had been prepared with offerings and sacred symbols. The time had come to reveal ourselves completely. The villagers gathered around us, curious and slightly apprehensive. Many knew me as a wise counselor, but few suspected the true nature of my power. When I assumed my full divine form, with my staff glowing in golden light and my eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages, a reverent silence fell over the crowd. "My friends," I said, my voice carrying an authority that transcended human form, "the time has come to reveal who we truly are. I am not just Agbanaragun, the seer you've known for so many years. I am Orunmila, the ORIXÁ of divination, guardian of fate, and protector of this village." A murmur of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Some fell to their knees, others stepped back in fear, but most stood their ground, processing the revelation with the dignity and strength that had always defined our people. Shango stepped forward, and as he assumed his divine form, lightning danced around his body, and his double-headed axe shone with celestial power. "I am Shango, Lord of Justice and Lightning. I have come to protect you from the evil that approaches." Yemanja emerged as a vision of maternal beauty, her sacred waters flowing around her like a liquid cloak. "I am Yemanja, mother of the seas and all children. My protection is always with you." ORIXÁ radiated a pure light that seemed to cleanse the air around him. "I am ORIXÁ, Lord of Peace and Purification. I have come to bring harmony where there is discord." The silence that followed was profound and charged with emotion. I saw tears in the eyes of many villagers, not from fear, but from a deep reverence and gratitude for finally understanding they had never been alone. That's when Aduni stepped out from the crowd. The little orphan I had comforted the previous night walked toward me with firm, determined steps. Without hesitation, she reached out and touched my sacred staff. "I always knew," she said, her voice clear and confident. "I always knew you were special, Baba Orunmila. Thank you for watching over us." Her simple gesture broke any remaining tension. One by one, the villagers approached, not to worship but to express their gratitude and trust. They had accepted our true nature with an ease that surprised and filled me with pride. But there was no time for celebrations. On the horizon, a cloud of dust announced the approach of the corrupt army. The battle was imminent. Dear followers of this epic journey, can you feel the tension rising? The decisive moment approaches, and Orunmila and his sibling Orishas are about to face the greatest challenge of their existence. Share your theories in the comments about how the battle will unfold. Do you think the power of light will be enough to defeat Elegbara's darkness? The corrupt army emerging on the horizon was a sight that defied comprehension. Hundreds of warriors marched in perfect synchrony, but their eyes were empty, as if their souls had been drained from their bodies. At their head, mounted on a horse as black as night, came a man who had once been noble but now served as Elegbara's general. Shango positioned himself at the front line, his double-headed axe gleaming with the power of 1,000 lightning bolts. But before charging into battle, he turned to me with an expression that mixed determination and concern. "Brother," he said, "remember what we agreed. These men are victims, not villains. I'll do my best to spare them, but if it's a choice between them and our people—" "I know," I replied, feeling the weight of responsibility in every word. "Do what must be done, but keep hope alive in your heart. Redemption is always possible." As Shango advanced to meet the enemy army, I focused on my true task, locating Elegbara through the veils of reality. I closed my eyes and let my consciousness expand beyond physical limits, navigating the invisible currents of fate until I found the source of the corruption. What I discovered shocked me deeply. Elegbara was not physically present in the battle. Instead, he had created a kind of spiritual web stretching from the corrupted village to here, feeding on the fear and despair generated by the impending violence. It was like a cosmic parasite, growing stronger with every drop of blood spilled, every tear of terror. "Oxala!" I shouted, opening my eyes with urgency. "We need to change our strategy. Elegbara isn't here physically, but his influence grows with the conflict. The more violence there is, the stronger he becomes." Oxala, who was maintaining a spiritual shield around the village, nodded gravely. "Then we must win without shedding blood, but how?" That's when the answer came to me, not through the cowries, but through a sudden understanding that sprang from the very core of my divine essence. "Through transformation," I murmured, feeling certainty grow in my chest. "We cannot destroy Elegbara, but we can transform the energy he uses against him." The first clash between Shango and the corrupt army echoed across the plain like the roar of a primordial storm. But instead of using his full strength, Shango channeled his lightning in a way I had never seen before. Instead of destroying, his bolts purified, breaking the spiritual chains that bound the warriors to Elegbara's influence. One by one, the soldiers began to stop, confusion replacing the empty determination in their eyes. They were simple men, farmers and artisans transformed against their will into instruments of war. As the chains of corruption broke, they remembered who they truly were. The general leading the army was the last to be freed. When the dark influence left him, he dismounted his horse and fell to his knees, tears of remorse and relief streaming down his scarred face. "What have we done?" he whispered, his voice broken with emotion. "What have we become?" Yemanja approached him, her sacred waters flowing gently around the fallen man. "You were lost, but now you are found," she said with the tenderness of a mother comforting a wounded child. "The past cannot be changed, but the future is still in your hands." As the first phase of the battle ended with the redemption of the corrupted warriors, I felt a sinister shift in the energy around us. Elegbara had realized his initial plan had failed, and now he was preparing for a more direct and dangerous manifestation. The sky darkened unnaturally as if clouds of pure shadow were forming above our heads. The air grew heavy and oppressive, charged with a malevolence that made the mortals present shrink back in instinctive fear. That's when he appeared. Elegbara materialized in the center of the battlefield, not as a physical being but as a distortion in reality itself. He was simultaneously gigantic and tiny, ancient and young, beautiful and hideous. His form shifted constantly, as if composed of every lie and deception ever spoken. "Orunmila," his voice echoed from all directions at once. Do you truly believe you can defeat me with your little magics of hope? I am the primordial force of chaos, older than the creation of your precious mortals. I felt my sibling Orishas position themselves at my side, forming a circle of divine power. But something told me brute force would not be enough to win this battle. Elegbara was older, and in his own dark realm, more powerful than any of us individually. You're right about one thing, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the fear I felt. You are older than the creation of mortals, but that's exactly what makes you obsolete. Elegbara paused in his transformations, his attention focusing entirely on me. Explain yourself. You represent primordial chaos, the disorder that existed before consciousness brought meaning to the universe. I continued, feeling the truth unfold as I spoke. But mortals changed everything. They brought choice, free will, the ability to create order from chaos through their decisions. You are no longer a primordial force. You are a relic of a bygone era. Elegbara's form began to flicker as if my words were causing some kind of interference in his essence. Lies, he roared. Chaos is eternal. Order is but a temporary illusion. That's when I fully understood what needed to be done. It wasn't about destroying Elegbara, but showing him that there was a new order in the universe, one based not on the imposition of power, but on the conscious choice to seek the light. Oshun, I shouted. Now. My sister had remained hidden throughout the battle, not out of cowardice, but because her mission was the most crucial of all. While we fought here, she had been working in the corrupted village, planting seeds of love and hope in the hearts of its lost inhabitants. At that moment, the fruits of her labor manifested. A wave of pure, loving energy emanated from the distant village, carried by the prayers and gratitude of people who had rediscovered their humanity. It was a power Elegbara could not comprehend, the power of the conscious choice to love despite pain. The wave of love and hope that reached us was like a spiritual tsunami, sweeping everything in its path. Elegbara tried to resist, channeling all his chaotic power to oppose this force. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of canceling each other out, the two energies began to merge and transform. Elegbara's chaos, touched by the light of conscious choice, was not destroyed but transmuted into something entirely new, a force of creative change and positive transformation. Impossible, Elegbara whispered, his form stabilizing for the first time since he appeared. What is happening to me? You are being transformed, I replied, approaching him with my staff extended. Your energy doesn't need to be destructive. Chaos can be creative when guided by wisdom and tempered by love. For the first time in eons, Elegbara seemed truly confused. But I am destruction. I am the force that undoes, that corrupts, that destroys. You were those things, Oxala interjected, his pure light gently enveloping Elegbara's flickering form. But even the oldest among us can change, can grow, can choose a new path. What happened next will remain etched in my memory for all eternity. Elegbara, the deceiver, the primordial force of destructive chaos, began to weep. Not tears of anger or frustration, but tears of relief, as if an immeasurable burden was finally being lifted from his shoulders. For so long, he whispered, I carried only destruction. I forgot that chaos can also create, renew, pave the way for something new and beautiful. Shango, always the most direct among us, approached cautiously. So you choose change? You choose to channel your strength for creation rather than destruction? Elegbara looked at each of us, and in his eyes, which once held only malice, now shone something akin to hope. I would like to try, but I don't know how to be different from what I've always been. That's when I extended my hand to him, offering not just forgiveness but guidance. Fate is not a fixed path, I said, echoing the words that had become my fundamental philosophy. It's a blank canvas where every moment offers the opportunity to paint something new. When he touched my hand, I felt his chaotic energy merge with my oracular wisdom. Instead of corrupting me, our union created something new, a realization that order and chaos, when balanced, could generate infinite possibilities. In the days following Elegbara's transformation, our village became a different place. The presence of the former deceiver, now redeemed, brought an energy of renewal and positive change that benefited everyone. Elegbara, choosing a new name for his new nature, Exu Transformer, dedicated himself to helping those who had lost their way find new directions. His ability to see through illusions and deceptions, once used to sow discord, now served to reveal hidden truths and open new paths for those who felt lost. The warriors who had been corrupted became some of the village's most dedicated guardians. Their experience with darkness made them particularly sensitive to signs of corruption, and they devoted themselves to protecting others from the suffering they had endured. The village that had once been corrupted was completely transformed. Under Oshun's loving influence and Oxalah's pacifying guidance, its inhabitants rediscovered not only their humanity, but also a new depth of compassion and understanding. As for me, I discovered that my nature as the guardian of fate had evolved. I was no longer just someone who read the patterns of the future, but someone who helped others understand that they were the authors of their own destinies. Every consultation with the Cowries became not just a revelation, but a conversation about the infinite possibilities each choice offered. I remember one afternoon, a few weeks after the events, when Aduni came to visit me. The little orphan had grown in wisdom and maturity in a way that constantly surprised me. "Baba Orunmila," she said, sitting beside me as I watched the sunset. "Can I ask a question?" "Always, my daughter. Why did you choose to save Eligbara instead of destroying him? Wouldn't it have been easier to just end him?" Her question made me smile, for she had touched the core of everything I had learned during that transformative experience. "Because, little one, I discovered that true strength lies not in destroying our enemies, but in transforming them into allies. Eligbara wasn't truly evil. He was just lost, trapped in old patterns that no longer served the world we had built." She nodded thoughtfully. "And now he helps people like you do." "Exactly. And that's a lesson we can all learn. When we meet someone who seems to be on the wrong path, our first response should be to extend a hand and offer guidance, not raise fists and offer punishment." That night, after Aduni had gone home and I was alone with my thoughts, I reflected on the extraordinary journey that had led to our victory. It wasn't a victory in the traditional sense. I hadn't defeated an enemy, but transformed an adversary into an ally. Years have passed since those intense days of conflict and transformation, and our village has become known throughout the surrounding lands as a place of healing and renewal. People came from far and wide seeking guidance, not only from me, but also from my sibling Orishas and even Exu Transformer, who had become a respected counselor for those seeking positive change in their lives. But perhaps the most significant transformation happened within myself. Throughout my existence, I had seen fate as something that could be read and interpreted but ultimately beyond individual control. Now I understood that fate was a collaborative partner, something that manifested through the interplay of cosmic forces and the conscious choices of living beings. One particularly clear morning, when the golden sun illuminated my hut with an almost divine light, I received an unexpected visitor. It was a young man from a distant village, his eyes shining with the same kind of vision I recognized in myself. "Master Orunmila," he said, bowing respectfully, "I've heard of your wisdom and come seeking guidance. I have visions of the future, but they haunt me. I see terrible things to come, and I don't know what to do with this knowledge." I looked at him and saw my own journey reflected in his anxious eyes. "Sit, young seer," I said, preparing my cowries. "Let me share with you the most important lesson I've learned in all my years as the guardian of fate." I cast the cowries, but this time not to read the young man's future, but to show him something far more fundamental. "What do you see here?" I asked, pointing to the patterns formed. He studied the cowries carefully. "I see possibilities, paths that branch and reconnect. There isn't just one future, but many." "Exactly," I said, filled with pride like a teacher watching his student grasp a profound truth. "The future is not a prison, but a garden of possibilities. Your vision is not a curse, but a gift. You can see not only what might happen, but also what needs to be done to ensure the best possibilities come to pass." In the days that followed, I taught the young man everything I had learned about the balance between accepting what cannot be changed and transforming what can be. I showed him how to use his vision not to torment himself with dark futures, but to find the points of light that could be nurtured and expanded. When he finally left, carrying not only knowledge but also hope, I felt I had completed a cycle. The haunted boy I once was had become the master who could now guide others through the same darkness I had navigated. Today, as I write these words and share my story with all of you who have had the patience to follow this journey, I feel a deep gratitude for every moment, every challenge, every transformation that brought me here. My staff, that same piece of sacred wood I found in the forest so many years ago, still glows with ancestral power, but now I understand that its true power never lay in the wood or the cowries, but in the wisdom it represents, the understanding that we are all co-creators of our destiny. Eligbara, now Exu Transformer, became one of my closest allies. Together, we developed new ways to help those who had lost their way find their path back to the light. His chaotic energy, now channeled constructively, brought a dynamic of constant renewal to our community. Shango remains the fiery protector he always was, but his justice is now tempered with a compassion that grew through our shared experience. Yemanja extended her protective motherhood to include not only those born of the sea, but all who need emotional healing. Oxala became an even brighter beacon of peace and harmony, his light guiding those who seek to resolve conflicts through dialogue rather than violence. And Oshun? Her ability to awaken love and beauty in the darkest places proved to be the most transformative force of all. It was her work in the corrupted village that made our entire victory possible. But perhaps the most important lesson I learned has nothing to do with divine power or ancestral wisdom. It has to do with something far simpler and more profound, the understanding that every being, no matter how lost they may seem, carries within them the potential for redemption and transformation. Aduni, that little orphan who touched me with her innocent faith, grew to become a leader in our community, dedicating her life to caring for other orphaned children. Her compassion and wisdom rival those of any Orisha, proving that divinity is not the exclusive prerogative of gods, but a potential that exists in every human heart. When I look to the future now, I no longer see just a series of predetermined events, but an infinite tapestry of possibilities, each more beautiful than the last. I see a world where mortals and immortals work together to create harmony, where differences are celebrated as sources of strength and where every challenge is seen as an opportunity for growth and transformation. My staff will always remain in my hands not as a symbol of power over fate, but as a reminder that we are all artisans of our own future. Every choice we make, every word we speak, every act of kindness we perform adds a thread to the great tapestry of existence. And you, dear listeners who have followed this journey to its end, remember this. You too carry an invisible staff, the power to shape your own destiny through your conscious choices. No matter how dark the present may seem, no matter how impossible the future may appear, there is always a light waiting to be kindled, always a path waiting to be discovered. Fate is not a tyrannical master but a patient partner, waiting to dance with those brave enough to take the first step. May your journey be blessed with wisdom, may your paths be illuminated by hope, and may your heart always remain open to the infinite possibilities each new day offers. Akse. This was the story of Orunmila, the guardian of fate told by himself. If this journey touched your heart or sparked reflections in your soul, share your thoughts in the comments. Your own experiences of transformation and growth are stories worth celebrating and sharing. Remember, each of you carries within you the power to be the Orisha of your own story. May you use that power with wisdom, compassion, and courage. Until our next journey together, may the light of the Orishas illuminate your paths.